see, we got some Whoppers, Low Pop, Snickers, there it is. Morning, everybody. Monday morning briefing, episode number 7. It's November the 2nd, and this weekend we had the trunk or treat in downtown, like I told you about last week, and it went great. They had downtown blocked off. There was goblins and ghouls running all over the place down there, adults and children alike, and it was just, they had a ton of people here. Maybe everybody that lives here, I'm not sure, but there was a lot of people here, a lot of candy being handed out, and it was just a good success. I think they did a good job, and the kids enjoyed the heck out of it, and so we gave away a lot of candy. Believe it or not, I gave away a ton of candy. I just kind of did it free choice, like a trough. When cattle come up to the trough and get what they want, I just did it like that, and this is all the candy I have left, plus bags and bags and bags that the kids got that's we got to do something with. So if you come by the shop, be prepared to eat some candy, because I'm going to force you to take some with you, because I don't eat a lot of candy, except for these. I eat a lot of these. I love these. And so this bag isn't open, so that bag will be mine. We've got some Twix. We've got, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And people this year, I noticed they weren't handing out just the junk candy, you know, candy corns, stuff like that. If you like candy corns, I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan. But they didn't give away a lot of that. I saw kids with full-size candy bars and stuff. Like somebody here in downtown was giving away legit candy, and it may have been a lot of the people there, but all this candy here, like I said, we gave away quite a bit. My mom gave away quite a bit, so we've got more candy than any dentist could ask for. So we're going to have this on the sales floor, and if you come in to visit, you're taking candy with you. I might just end up bagging it up into little 5-pound sacks and letting people take it. But all in all, it was a good weekend. We are now right up against the election, so I'm ready to get this done and get it behind us, and go from there, because after that we've got Christmas, and so we're noticing an uptick in calls about Christmas orders and stuff like that, so hopefully you are too. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and decorate the shop for Christmas some point this week, and maybe we'll let you see some of that next Monday. It may be a little bit early, but for a retailer, it's really not. If you've been out and about in any of the retail stores, I'm sure they've already got their Christmas stuff out. We were at the grocery store Friday getting some stuff for the party and stuff, and they were already taking down the Halloween stuff and putting out the Christmas stuff. Honestly, as far as retail goes, I feel like that's a little late. Usually the Christmas stuff is out before Halloween a little bit. Or it seems like in the past it has been. It kind of gets earlier and earlier every year. But this year it kind of seems like it's on a little slower take. But we're going to do that. And we're going to go ahead and decorate and put up a Christmas tree. And probably start working on getting a game plan for lights. Because we'll have to do my mom's house, my house, and the shop with lights. And I don't do well on ladders. So I got to figure out how I can talk her into keeping all the lights low. And not going up high on the house. We're going to work on some of that. Last week was a good week. We got the saddles. We'll show you in a minute. We got those a little bit further along. I'm going to try to get both of these done this week, so we're going to try to camp on those. We've got quite a bit of other stuff going on. The podcast has been doing really well this past week. We had Scott Summerlot, who's a good friend of ours. Obviously, we were building those chaps for him. And if you're not familiar with him, go back and listen to that podcast, and then check out some of his stuff on Instagram. He does really, really nice work. He's a silversmith and engraver and spur maker. He doesn't make any bits or anything, but he makes a lot of spurs, a lot of belt buckles, a lot of engraved personal items, and does a really neat job. He did my wife and I's wedding rings, and then he's done some knives for me and some gift things, and then some projects. We've worked on some saddles together as well, where he's done the conchos and some hardware for us. But that episode did really well. Everybody seemed to like it. This week's episode, I've got 2 that it may be, so I'm not going to say who it is yet, because one's let's just say I've got a bit maker and a hat maker that I don't know which one of those will go on next. I'm going to try to keep them broke up so that you don't have just 5 saddle makers in a row, but obviously there's going to be some times when there'll be some overlap where you'll have the same type of discipline from week to week, but we've got a good episode this week either way. Both of those are going to be really, really good episodes. If you haven't checked it out already, be sure and check out Lost Trade Podcast on your Apple or Spotify. We are going to work on getting it on iHeart too, but iHeart has some deal where the podcast has to be out for so much time before you can actually start putting it on iHeart. And so we're just waiting on that. Otherwise, you can also go to, we have the website set up, If you go to our website at dgsaddlery.com, there's a button up at the top that says Lost Trade Podcast. You can also just get there by going to losttradepodcast.com. That's losttradepodcast.com, and that'll take you right to the website. If you don't have Apple or Spotify, or you just want to go to the website and listen to it there, if you go there, there's little players for each episode, and you can just hit the play button, and it'll play right there through your phone or your computer or whatever you're on. It'll go ahead and play it right there. So for this week's project, I am working on the checkbook project video. I've already tooled one of them. The other one I'm going to tool today or tomorrow, but that video is going, and so hopefully we can get that out this week. Last week we just did not have time to get it out, and I told you it might not go out last week, but we are working on the checkbook cover. I want that out here as quick as I can because that is always a really, really good gift item for any kind of Christmas stuff or anything like that. We're also going to be building this week, just for a customer, is our shave kit. So if you haven't, we'll probably put some of this on Instagram or something so you can check this one out as it's going. I haven't built one of these in a few months, but it's a shave kit. So it's what we used to, some guys will call bear trap shave kit or something. I call it the old style shave kit because it's very popular. It's been around a long time. We did not invent this, but it's a really good pattern, and they make really good gifts as well. So we've got one of these to make, and we'll be sure to follow us on Instagram or our Facebook page, DG Leathercraft Facebook page, to see the progress of that. We'll put some pictures of that up on there. We've also got our rough out belts. I think we're going to end up with like 10 of them that will be completed today or tomorrow, and we'll probably put these on the website. We might just put them on Instagram and see how they do before I'll take the time to put them on the website, but this is an item that we'll probably try to keep on there. But they're just a nice heavy piece of 13-15 ounce skirting leather, the same leather that we build the saddles out of, and it's just a rough out finish, and we oil them and condition them. So those are going to be posted and available for sale this week. And then I've got a belt that we're working on. We finished a bunch of belts last week. I think 4 or 5 belts last week. This one here is for a young man, and it's got a matching scabbard with it, or sheath. And then we're going to buck stitch this. So the holes are punched in there, and so we'll get that buck stitch today. Some of y'all might have noticed. Let me get my jig. You might have seen it on our Instagram story, or maybe I posted it on Instagram. I can't remember, but when you're buck stitching these knife sheaths, you fold over the belt loop part and you rivet that, and then fold it over and glue it, and then finish your edge and everything as if it was sewn, but you don't sew it if you're going to buck stitch it. And so once that's all done, then you've got to punch these holes for the buck stitching. It can be really difficult because of this belt loop down here on the bottom, because the sheath wants to kind of fold down to your surface that you're trying to punch these on, and they'll come out crooked on the backside. And so if you watch the video that we did on making this fold over knife sheath, that project video, you kind of saw me struggle with that. And I don't know how I did it in the past. Maybe we didn't do a lot of buck stitch ones. I remember doing them, but maybe it was just the guys working for me at the time that I had buck stitching them, so I never noticed the problem. But I noticed the problem this time, and so what I did was, when I made this one, is I didn't want to fight it like I did at the one in the video. So I made a little jig. Simple. All it is 2 really heavy pieces of leather. I glued them together, but this cutout right here is basically perfect for where the belt loop is. So you can just chalk that right in there when it's laying flat on your bench, and now the sheath is perfectly flat, and you've got that bit of room from the bench to where the sheath is, so that this jig kind of supports that, and then you can punch your holes around there, and you don't have to worry about the scabbard kind of moving around or trying to walk around on you, and then your holes come out the backside crooked. So that's something really simple that you can make for that sheath. If you're going to make a lot of buck stitch ones, just take you a couple pieces of heavy skirting leather, or you could probably use harness leather, whatever you got. But the only reason I use skirting is because I had to glue these 2 together, because I did 2 layers, and that way it was, I needed that for the height, and that worked out really, really well. That worked out perfectly. So I ended up punching a hole in it, marking it so nobody will throw it away, and hung it on my bench. So next time I do one, I've got that little jig just to punch those holes. If you want a little bit closer look at it, go back to our Instagram feed and from last week, and you'll see that on there. I show a picture of 2 pictures of it, and that way you can see that. this is the next piece that'll be hung in the shop on the showroom, and this is the skull of the steer that we had butchered last year. So I've got some really, really good friends of ours that we get our beef from, and they raise cattle and they butcher them and then sell retail beef as well. And this year's steer that he did for us had a really, really neat set of horns on him. And so for a gift for the new shop and everything this year, he went ahead and had this skull done as a, I guess you would call it a European mount, but it's completely professionally done. I don't know who did it for him, but they did a fantastic job. The caps are, you know, obviously glued on, so they're not going to fall off. The jaws glued to the rest of the skull. And so this is just a really cool piece. So we're going to try to find a really neat place in the shop to hang it, and we'll go from there. People saw this on my Instagram. Somebody asked, is that the bullet hole? Yes. Is it a little off? I'm not sure. Obviously not, because he is deceased, and we've got a freezer full of beef. So I'm assuming that this did its job. But yeah, it turned out really, really nice. It's super clean. It looks really good. So it'll go good with the other deer mounts that we have in here. We've got a bunch of just European mounts from some of the deer that we've shot and stuff. Who am I kidding? My wife shot all those deer. But anyway, they're her deer. They're all hanging in here. And so this one steer head will make a really, really good piece to add to the decoration in the shop. And I finished the clutch wallet. Let me tell you about this thing. I want to thank all y'all on Instagram and Facebook. Everybody seemed to like it, said it really looked neat. It turned out really good. I'm really happy with it. This kangaroo that I got from Lewis Leather Sales, it's fantastic. So it makes perfect liners, pockets, and all that kind of stuff. And this is our clutch wallet project that we did, that we've done in the past. So this is our pattern pack. Of course, I drew a new floral pattern for this. When it came to doing, I did the two-tone initially with the paint. The Angelus paint watered down a bunch and used it like a dye. It was going really well, but what happened was in these slick spots, and I may have mentioned it somewhere in the past here as I was doing this, but I was still seeing some of the leather come through here, and I just couldn't get the color that I wanted and whatnot. And then I tried to antique it, and when I did, it rubbed even more off. And so I kind of fought it back and forth. It's part of experimentation. Anytime you're trying something new, you're not sure if it's going to work, you just got to be prepared that it might go downhill quickly, and you might have to throw it away. So I was already at that point where I'd already sealed it, I'd antiqued it. It was going to be hard to get that Angelus to soak in just as a watered down acrylic paint through that finish. So I ended up just taking the turquoise dye that I spoke of before. I had it, and I just said, well, it's either messed up or I can maybe save it, so we're going to try something. So I went over this entire thing again with that dye. It did some weird stuff to where it kind of sat on top and then soaked in, then it would leave some streaks. It was kind of touch and go there for a little while, but I just kept playing with it, kept working with it, kept adding dye, kept trying to get it even, trying to get it smooth. I'd wipe it off. Went a lot of different directions with it. In the end, it's a cool one piece. And that's all it is. I would not do the Angelus paint again for the two-tone part. If I did, I would probably try to do it in a different way, and I don't know what that way would be just yet. So I had some people comment, why wouldn't you just use dye instead of paint? Again, I just wanted to try it and see if it would work. It would open up a lot more options for me, because if I could make it work and I could two-tone technically any color, and I still may be able to, but this one didn't work the way I wanted it to. But in the end, the dye helped to save the piece. So if I was to do this again, I would probably just go straight to that turquoise dye and do it again. Would I get this same color out of this thing? I don't know, because this does have a very rich, deep blue type turquoise, and I really like the color. It's very antique looking. You can still see some of the paint through there. You can't see any of the leather through there anymore, but you can still see where the color isn't just perfectly even. It's very mottled looking or uneven, but I think it looks neat. And then the inside is, of course, electric turquoise. It's very, very bright turquoise. And we buck stitched it with a little different shade of turquoise, kangaroo lace that we got from Springfield Leather. Now this turquoise is more of a green turquoise. So for this one piece, I was really happy with it. I think it looks cool. I think it looks different, and if anybody, you know, it will be for sale. It'll be on the sales floor, and if it sells, it sells. But there won't be another one like this. So it's kind of a, I guess you could say, a one of a kind piece. But really, it's just an experimentation, and that's what it is. And if somebody likes it, I'll sure sell it. But I'm not going to make another one. I'm not going to make 7 or 8 of these because I can't replicate this finish on this. I mean, I probably could if I did the same mistakes in the exact same order as I did before, but I prefer not to. So it's probably not going to end up just like this. So this is a one-off piece, but all in all, I learned a lot, had fun, and that's the main thing when you're trying stuff. A lot of people ask a question or something and like, well, can I do this? And can I put this die over here, do this? Try it. Sometimes I don't know. If I know it won't work, I'll tell you. Like if you email me and ask me a question and I know that that's going to be a train wreck for you, I'll tell you, don't do that because I've done it and it doesn't work. But if I don't know and you don't know, we might as well just try it. It's just leather. So it's always a little bit more advantageous to try it on a piece of scrap leather when you don't have already 2.5, 3 hours into something before you start slinging dye on it. But either way, you know, sometimes you don't know how something's going to work until you try it, and a lot of times when I've done that, more times than not, I've ended up coming up with some kind of neat process that I can replicate again in the future. And that's the trick, is not doing something so complicated that there's no way you're going to replicate it again. You might get the one-off piece out of that looks really, really cool, but can you do it again? Because if somebody sees it, that's the problem. If somebody sees this one and they want one just like this, I'm going to have to be real honest with them and tell them I don't know if it's going to turn out just like this, because this was a multitude of mistakes compiled together in order to create this, whatever it is. So that's something to think about, but don't be scared to try stuff. Just sling paint, dye, whatever, try it. Just give it a whirl and see what comes out of it, because sometimes it might surprise you and you might come up with something that's a really neat process that then you can teach somebody else how to do to get a certain effect that you might have kind of pioneered. So give that a shot. Don't be scared to do that. We also launched our I Love Cows t-shirt. If you're on social media, if you're on Instagram, you've already seen this shirt. This logo I came up with earlier this year or last year, and I just thought it was kind of cool. I came up with the deal. It says I love, and then of course it's cows, but if you read real closely in the middle, it says I love to eat and make things out of cows. And so I thought it was funny. I thought it was a cool shirt, and or a cool shirt idea, and so we made up a few. You can go to the website and check our inventory on the I Love Cow t-shirts. They're on there. We launched it yesterday. It was Sunday. I was in here piddling. We got the shirts in this weekend, and so I went ahead and popped them on the website and went ahead and launched them. The response was really good, and so we've sold quite a few of these, but we will do a second run of these. So we're not going to allow back orders on this particular shirt because I just want to be sure I can get them regularly and get them in good quantity so that you're not waiting trying to get your shirt. So if we are out of stock on the size and the color that you want, just hang tight, and we will do a second run as soon as we see kind of how these shirts are selling and stuff like that. Like I said, there's 3 colors. There's this forest color, then there's a slate color, and then a cardinal where it looks like maroon. The slate looks kind of like a bluish gray. It's really pretty. They're good quality shirts, just like our organic leather t-shirt. They're the same brand, and they do run a little bit small. So on this set we didn't do any smalls because the smalls were really small, and so we did mediums all the way to, I think we only had a few of the double XL and on one color, and then the rest of them we just went to the XL. But we will do some bigger sizes if there's a lot of people that are wanting that. And we may do some smalls if there's a lot of people wanting that. But this shirt does run just a tick on the smaller sizing. But they are on the website. Check that out. We'll put a link down in the description if you want to purchase one of those. They're a really neat shirt, and they're doing well. We're just kind of playing with some of the shirt ideas because I've got a bunch of little logos. I play around in Illustrator and stuff like that, and just drawing stuff up and little sayings and stuff. And we're just kind of throwing a few of those out there every once in a while to see if people would be interested, and we'll continue to do more and more of those probably as we can. We're not a t-shirt company, so we don't have a whole lot of time to do a ton of them, but we'll do a few here and there, and just to promote our brand and stuff like that, and to give you something nice. On the back of these shirts it does say DG Leathercraft and has our website dgsaddlery.com, and that's where you can go to check out that shirt if you'd like to check out the shirts. I also got the stirrups done last week for this saddle. I just got to put treads in there, so we've got those done. Stirrups are probably my least favorite thing to build on a saddle. They're not something that I really just get excited about building. They're not hard. They're just cumbersome, and they take a lot of time. I don't sell any stirrups. If somebody comes in and wants me to make a pair of stirrups to match a certain saddle they have, if it's one of my saddles, I'm obligated, I will. If they've got another custom saddle or some other saddle and they just want a pair of stirrups to match, they've lost them or something like that, I don't do that, because these things are really hard to price. When you talk about pricing your work and stuff, a pair of stirrups is one of those items that will really test your pricing theory, because you've got very little material in these, but when you get to cutting all the parts, you realize it's more than you think it is. And you've got two different types of material. You've got a heavy outside and a thinner liner on the inside, plus you've got a tread, plus you've got a bolt cover. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces per stirrup. Not per pair, but per stirrup. So you got 6 here, 6 here, that's 12 different pieces that you've got to cut out. Plus the time it takes, the process that you have to build these in, they're very cumbersome and time consuming from that aspect. And then sewing them up and edging them and slicking them and dyeing them and everything else. There's a lot more work and time and material in a pair of stirrups than what they are when they're done. When they're done, they're just a pair of stirrups. So how can you justify selling these for $400 or $500? But that's what you'd have to get for these, for the amount of time that you're going to put into them that it takes to cover them. The good thing is that time is just wrapped into a custom saddle build, and so it's paid out through that. So it's kind of embedded, so to speak. It's in there. You don't notice it's like building a flank girt. There's a lot more work in a flank girt than there is in a belt, and I get 3 times the money on a custom belt than I do for a flank girt, because of what it is. Because somebody gets a flank, I need a flank girt. Well, it's going to be $600. Well, it's a flank girt, I know, but there's more time in there than the belt. I don't charge $600 for my flank girts, but I also don't build flank girts. If somebody comes in and wants one, a flank strap, if they want, the rear cinch on a saddle, if they want one of those, I tell them go to the feed store, go to a tack shop, something like that, and buy one from there. Unless it's going on one of our saddles, then we feel obligated to do that. But if they just need a flank cinch, we'll buy one from the store. You don't need a custom flank cinch from me. And in my time, for what I got to charge for it to be fair for what I charge somebody on a belt, I would have to charge a lot. Now on our custom saddles, again, it's built into the price. So we build it with a saddle. So things like stirrups and flank girts, they're just kind of a pain in the butt to make if you have people that they just need a flank girt, or they just need a pair of stirrups. Those kind of items, in my opinion, you're better off if you do have a shop, or you're making stuff as a hobby just for fun or whatever, and you want to make a pair of stirrups, that's fine, but you're gonna have a lot of time in them. There's a lot more time and work in these than you would think. And so most of the time I would say just build these when you build your first saddle, or when you build a saddle. Keep those built into the saddle build process as part of that. And then if anybody wants either item, just go buy it at the feed store. Buy it somewhere there, because they've got people, strap good makers, manufacturers. That's what they specialize in, and they make a lot of those. And so they're set up, they make them. You can buy them for $150. You're good. You can buy a pair of stirrups for $100, and how they cover them like that, I don't know. You can buy all kinds of different shapes, sizes, coverings, all that stuff. So it's just kind of one of those items I don't really enjoy making. I try to do a really nice job on them. I use a nettle stock. So if some of y'all might ask, where do you get your stirrups? Weaver sells a really nice stirrup that is just the galvanized bound. Hang on, I got a pair. I'll show you. Okay, these are the stirrups that Weaver sells, and they're just the old style wood stirrup with a galvanized binding on there. And these stirrups have been around for a couple hundred years, probably. I don't know. They've been around for a long, long time. They're fantastic stirrups. These are probably, there's nothing wrong with building with these stirrups. These are awesome, and I still use these. For my roping saddles, I prefer to use local companies if I can. I try to do business locally as much as possible, and that's just something that we've always tried to do. These are Nettles stirrups. Nettles, Nettles. Nettles stirrups, and they're in Madisonville, Texas. Both Mr. and Mrs. Nettles, they ride cutting horses and stuff. They're very, very well known in the cutting horse industry and stuff. And so they started building a stirrup for the cutter. So they're a thicker lamination here, and they're a certain style, and they've got all the different styles of bells, of Vasalias. They do what they call a half-breed stirrup. They do a petite stirrup. They do a lot of different kind of proprietary styles that they make, and they also make the traditional styles. They also do blanks, and this is what they call their roper blank. And this stirrup right here is just raw. It's what it says it is. It's a blank. So this is meant to be covered like this. And so I order those from them, and to me they're a little bit better built stirrup. They're a little bit cleaner when I get the stirrup covered than these are, and it's just a small subtle difference, but I just prefer to work with these. To me, they cover a little bit easier. And again, we're trying to support local business. When we were in Bryan for 15 years, you know, Madisonville is right down the road, and so that's where we did business, and that's who we got our stirrups from. And we've been using them for a long time, and we really like them. And so that's where we get our blanks. But Weaver will sell a blank very similar to this if you would prefer to cover these. They are cheaper. These are expensive. They're not super cheap. I can't remember what they run, but they are more expensive than these. But for me, that's the ones I prefer to use, so that's what I use. But I have covered a lot of Weaver stirrups, and they sell all the different sizes and styles. So if you're looking for a 5-inch bell, 4-inch bell, Visalia, deep roper, cut and stirrup, oxbow stirrup, Nettles or Weaver has all of those shapes. Nettles does too, but Weaver will have many shapes of these and sizes, and you can get on their website or get in their catalog and order them straight from them. But that's stirrups. Like I said, you can cover whatever you'd like. Stirrups are stirrups. So, and a lot of times on a custom saddle, I've had guys that just want these uncovered with just a tread put in them, because that's just, they know they're going to get tore up and all that kind of stuff, so they just rather not cover them. Plus, they kind of like that galvanized look for a little old school look. So I will cut this bolt off here and then peen that down, and that way that nut doesn't come out, and it's nice and safe. And then we'll put a bolt cover on it and a pair of treads in there, and that makes a really nice stirrup as well. So that works out pretty good. Let me get some coffee and we'll talk about saddles. So this saddle here, we got the this is the roper, and we got the seat glued in it on Friday, and so we'll trim the back here down and get ready to put a binder on that, and that saddle will be ready to start throwing some oil on. We've got the fenders and stuff over here already done, and I think I've got all the little stuff done too, or the bulk of it, so the stirrups are just about ready. So this one will be done here the next day or two. And then this one over here, we got the housings finished up. They're mounted, they're edge dyed and everything else. So this morning I'll be putting my plugs in and getting ready to put a seat in that one. We'll probably put a seat in this afternoon so that can dry. I'll probably end up having to put it in front of a fan for a day so I can cut down some of that dry time, because I need to get that one a little bit further along. I don't have a whole lot left to talk about today. Here's that checkbook cover that we're going to do. This is one of them. I just did one for my wife and I for our ranch account and stuff, and it's got our brand on it. And so we'll do a pattern similar to that in the pattern pack, but you'll have to hide your own brand in there. But anyway, I got all the parts, our pockets. There's not a lot to a checkbook cover, so when you see this video, you're going to see there's really not a lot to it. The sizing is pretty much the main thing. And then obviously the tooling patterns that we'll put in there. If you're interested in those, that'll be the main point of buying the pattern pack, not necessarily the size. The size isn't hard. 6 3/4 by 7.5 is the size. So if you're watching the Monday morning video, you want to make a checkbook cover, there's the size. You line the whole thing, you put a pocket on each end. The 7.5 is the long side, so that's the side that'll fold. So it's 6 3/4 wide, and then you'll fold it. Check that size. Make sure. Make sure I'm not lying to you. I don't want to lie. Yep, 6 3/4 is what I did. The first one I made, I used to do them 7 by 7.5, but I made myself one. Might have put it on Instagram, but it looked a little too wide, and I've never noticed them that wide before. So maybe because I never made myself a checkbook cover till now. So, but anyway, I went ahead and tightened it up just a little bit, just so it's not as long. But yeah, that's it. Body, liner, and 2 pockets, 1 on each end. You can certainly get more complicated with them, but to me, it's like keep it simple, and people enjoy it. I mean, it'll work great. Got a couple more pancake sheaths that we're working on. I got some belts that I need to tool. Got more belts I'm going to cut out today. We are getting into the, that worked out really good last week, kind of just going back to my old deal of cutting everything on one day and then working on that all week. So we did that even with everything going on, trying to get ready for the party and Halloween. I was still able to finish quite a bit of stuff, so that turned out nice. So we're going to try to do that again every week, which is what I should be doing. I also tooled up a few extra knife scabbards or sheaths, and so we're going to put those on the website. Well, that's all I really got for you this week. I wish I had more. We're just kind of trucking along. Like I said, we've got these two saddles I'm really going to be camped on, trying to get them wrapped up, and I got some more belts that we're going to cut. We do have a big shipment of leather coming from Herman Oak probably this week, I'm hoping, and so we'll have some neat stuff coming out with that. And I'm going to try to find a spot on the sales floor for all this candy, so if you come by, please take some with you. I really don't like all the temptation of that big old pile of candy out there in the front, but hopefully we can get most of it away and try to get some Christmas decorations out this week and get those dusted off and hopefully get the front end decorated. That way it feels like the Christmas spirit in here. In Texas right now, it's like, it was really cold last week, really cold. It was like 40, but for us, that's pretty cold. But then this Saturday, it was beautiful and the weather was nice, but it did get up around 75 or 80. So we were back to taking the jacket off now and trying not to sweat too much. And this morning is a little cool, but it's already warming up. I had to take the vest off. I was getting hot. I don't even have the heater on in here. It's just naturally warm in this. I don't know if this building maybe is just insulated really well or what. I wouldn't see a 100-year-old building would be that well insulated, but it feels like it's doing pretty good. So, but yeah, I was getting a little warm. Took that off. I'm ready for a little bit of cool weather. Those of y'all that are already having snow, I'm sure you don't want me to say it because y'all probably hate the snow, but you're lucky. You already got snow. You're already in the Christmas spirit. You get this election out the door and behind us, and everybody can get back to normal without hearing about that all the dang time. Then maybe we can start enjoying and relaxing and getting ready for the Christmas season that's coming. Because I'm excited. I hope you are too. Remember, don't bite off more than you can chew. Try to be honest with yourself on what you can get done before Christmas. Most of y'all from the folks that I've talked to, and I've talked back and forth with a bunch of y'all on email and Instagram and stuff, everybody seems really busy, so it doesn't seem like anybody's really starving for work. I'm sure there's some that would rather have more work, but I foresee it changing this week. Starting this week, I foresee that there's going to be a lot of people scrambling trying to get their Christmas orders in. So take what you can, do what you can, but don't overdo it, and don't overschedule yourself because it really makes your Christmas kind of rough and stressful and very anxiety ridden. So try not to take too much and enjoy it. And we're going to get at it today. I've got a buddy of mine coming up today for lunch, and he's bringing us a gift that he made for us. He's a good friend of ours, kind of a family friend, but he does some woodwork and stuff, and he made us a new sign for the shop and just wants to come up. I told him he'd come up and deliver it, buy him lunch, so I think that's really the only reason he's coming, which is cool. So I'm going to take him over here, and we're going to eat some good Mexican food and do that. So that's going to be at noon, and then otherwise we'll be in the shop all week. So if you need something, give us a holler. If you're in the area, come by and visit, bring you a bag, you're taking some candy. We'll see you next week.